According to US Census data from 2007 to 2023, the number of parents in the US actually stayed around the same. It was around 89 to 90,000 parents. In the same respect, the number of married spouses and homes with no partner present stayed around the same as well. So, no matter what is going on here in the lives of our children, whether you're married, whether you're not married, and the other parent is not as in the home, what still has to happen is that you have to co-parent. Okay. So, from the child's point of view, there or not, we still need to co-parent. I am Dr. Jerry Johnson. I am the creator of Common Sense Co-Parenting. If you don't know me, I am here to empower you to become a better co-parent. I empower parents to navigate the complexities of co-parenting with clarity, compassion, and collaboration to ensure a nurturing environment focused on the well-being of the child above all else. And today I have back again my ex-husband, Chancellor Wiley. Thank you for joining me again today.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
so appreciate it. All right. So I have some stuff going on my screen right now, which is really weird, but we're going to go ahead and start our conversation today. And in our last episode, if you did not get to join us, we were talking about our co-parenting journey to end out this year. If you don't know, this is my 1-year anniversary, basically, of my channel. Yay! I don't have many subscribers right now, but I know you guys are going to help me with that today. So if you are listening in, please click the like and subscribe button. I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a little wait time. That's the teacher in me. So anyway, we're going to talk about our co-parenting journey. Last week, we talked about it being from chaos to collaboration, but Chan started with the collaboration piece, which was really good. So we're just going to work backwards. This is called backwards design in education. If you guys don't know, we start with what we want things to look like, and then we work backwards, right, to get there. All right. So today, we're going to talk a bit about the chaos piece of our co-parenting journey. And there are two particular instances where I thought that it was pretty chaotic, but you guys are going to listen to see what's going on here. All right. So the first one, Chan, we're going to talk about is the beginning of our separation, like before we got divorced. As we were going through all of the things for getting divorced, it was chaotic for me. Like, I had to figure out where I was going to live. I had to figure out, well, number one, I never wanted to be a statistic. I never wanted to be divorced. Never. Right. That was not an intention. And I think a lot of us go into marriage, believing
Right.
that, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
I don't want to be divorced. And when you do have to make that decision or that becomes your outcome, you go through a process of like disappointment, like shame,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like one of the lowest vibrational energies that you can have is shame or guilt. And I think we all do, but when you have kids, it just adds another layer on top of it, right? Like you never wanted your child to grow up with two parents in different places. Even if you've never been married, maybe you want to be married and you had a situation with someone or a relationship and you ended up having a baby by them and you've never been married. It still brings like a amount of shame on you, like I didn't do enough or something like that. So for me, going through the process of just trying to get myself together, get my mind right, going from living with someone every day, and having a child to living by myself and having a child, like Where am I going to live? What am I going to do? Things like that. I was teaching at the time, um, other people's kids, which, it was like coming home to my own after doing that all day
Hmm.
was something. So it was a whole lot going through my mind. I remember I lost weight. Um, I was just
Hmm.
stressed. And it was a very chaotic time of trying to figure out what did I want our daughter's life to look like in this situation. Like, what was going to be the healthiest way? Because I had seen kids of divorce in schools, in my classroom, and how it was just not good for them. They come to school crying because they left homework at somebody else's house, or, they come to school upset, telling me about stories of what happened at mom's house versus I got to go to dad's house this weekend, or they're going places in midweek while they're trying to come to school, and one parent forgets to drop them off, and what's the drop off time, and all this type of stuff. I just did not want I did not want the chaos for my daughter. Like, so I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember, but I was very, very vigilant about the schedule,
Right.
what the visitation schedule was going to be, and all of that. And then when she got into school, it was going to change. These are the things I guess you say. I was like, no, we're going to do this.
Right. Right. Which is good. Which is good. Which is good.
But yes, I was very, very big on what experience do I want my daughter to have in this life, because she did not choose this life, right?
Right.
She didn't choose this life. And I think that's what we all need to understand, is that when we make choices, every choice that we make, our kids are a byproduct of that.
Right.
Like, it's going to touch them in some way. And I say all the time in my work, everything affects everything.
Right.
You need to look at, when you're making a choice, who else does this affect and how, before you make that choice. So for me, the process of us separating and getting to a space where we had, a plan for her was very, very chaotic. And I think we separated when she was 8 years
Yeah.
old. That took
Yeah.
about a year or two, maybe.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
But you said that it wasn't very chaotic for you.
Well, now that you've given a good refresher, uh, you're right. Now that I'm going back down memory lane to those early days, it was chaotic. It was definitely different. I think what I'm drawn to in those early days, and that quite frankly continued on, is that certainly when you go into a marriage and with a child, there's this in-house partnership that shares some level of in-house load. And when you don't have that anymore, you instantly have this 100% in your house load, you know, cooking, taking care of, traveling, you
Mhm.
know. I am proud that I learned how to fix my daughter's hair and she looked great. Um, so it's been a long time, but I can navigate a curling iron is all I'm saying. Um, so so certainly there is a massive adjustment and so forth with that. Um, and you're right, it's chaotic with regard to that. That manner of care and so forth. Not to mention, you throw on top of that those early stages of us through that time communicating and having to make decisions piled on this to this stress of of trying to be a one man or one woman show in our respective space to care for our daughter and so forth. Um, so it's a lot. I think with some measure of through all of that though, I think having somewhat of a support unit, having quite frankly a lot of intestinal fortitude,
Mm,
um, we're certainly while while different, while hard, um, I think we rose to the challenge and got through it. Um, and you know took care of our daughter, but certainly for me there was a lot of learning and adjustment and so forth. But at the same time, uh, did what needed to be done in doing so. No matter how the days were, um, we did what needed to be done to take care of our girl.
right, right. But from your perspective, like before I just went through all of that,
Hmm.
you said it wasn't chaotic to you.
This is true. So to give you the backdrop on that, so when I look back on the early days, if somebody was to ask me, you know, was it chaotic? My answer would be no. It was not. It was not chaotic. I put it in a different space in terms of it's part of the process. I can't imagine those days being anything else but somewhat of a challenge or an adjustment. Um, you know, so I didn't view it as chaotic. I viewed it as more of the process.
Okay.
Um, and also in those early days, just to add on, I traveled every single week for probably about a year to 18 months.
Hmm.
So I was only home for the weekend and
Yeah.
so forth. Um, so that put during that time, it put a whole other level of strain on you from a different perspective. It put a huge strain on me of only being able to see our daughter on the weekend.
Yeah.
And that was challenging for all of us because, you know, I think that would be disingenuous if I didn't say that in those early days, our daughter surely experienced something negative as a result of that. You know, dad's coming home. He hasn't been here all week. He's picking me up.
Hmm.
She knows me. She called me on the phone, but still, there's that separation initially from her mom, and then I'm picking her up, and then she's not exactly all that happy, and we struggle with that experience,
Right.
with subjecting her to that and so forth. So it's hard. It's hard emotionally, um, so forth. So yes, to some degree chaotic. I viewed it as part of the process. Is what I said.
But see, this is, and I mean, it's good that you said that because I think as women, we need to understand how men process things most of the time. And it's, that saying hindsight is 2020.
Hmm.
Like a lot of the times you guys don't necessarily communicate in the moment, but once you have some time and space, you look back and you're like, oh
Hmm.
man, you know? And I think it's giving someone time and space sometimes to actually process it. And then also giving your perspective is very important too, because, and giving it in such a way that it's not, oh, well, I feel, or you should, or you shouldn't, or whatever. It's, this is the way that I am seeing this, or
Hmm.
this is my perspective on what's happening or what has happened. Did you know I was going through X, Y, and Z? No, because I didn't talk to you at that time.
Right.
like that. Like we didn't have that type of relationship. So at that time, like I'll call you now and be
Hmm.
like, listen,
Right.
or with the 9 layoffs that I've had in my life,
Right.
hey, I'm just got laid off. I don't know about
Right.
money. Like
Right.
so I had to get to a point where I was comfortable with communicating in that way too. But I think my audience needs to understand that men and women just process differently. You can have that think like a act like a lady, think like a man mindset if you want to, but it does not. In real life,
Right.
in reality, we can't think like men because we're not men.
Right.
I mean, there are some nuances, and we are women and men for a reason. Now, I can say all day, well, I think this is why he did what he did or why he said what he said. But until I actually talk to you and understand your thought process through that, I can't confirm that.
Right.
I'm not omniscient. I'm not I can't read
Hmm.
minds, not the Lord. So
Although you have guessed it a few times, right?
I mean, I can guess all day. I will ask 50 questions, to see and try to get to what it is that's going on, but I still don't know until I know, until
Right.
somebody tells me. So I want my co-parents to think about this. This is just one situation with us, and we're about to talk about another one where the perspectives are different. We're apart. Even if we were living in the same house, we still would have different experiences,
Absolutely.
different
Absolutely.
vantage points. So even though I may have thought it was chaotic at the time for me, he thought it was part of the process. And absolutely it is. I've told my audience before, many times it gets worse before it gets better, right?
Yeah.
So it did get worse, but now it's better. And it took some time to get there. So um, the second like thing that I thought about was I've talked about on my podcast before when Ash had to come live with me, and she talked
Hmm.
about it when she was on my podcast.
Hmm.
Um, so I decided that it was just one day, y'all. Things happened. I was done. I'm just gonna, and he already knew when I talked to him, I was done. I was over it. And I said, it's just best that she stay with me. And we had this conversation, Chan. Haven't we had this
Hmm.
conversation when she was a little
Hmm.
bit younger, like some
Yeah.
years before? I said, eventually she just needs to come and stay with me.
Right.
I firmly believe and understand that if we had had a boy, he would have gone to live with you full time when he turned a certain age because I can't teach him to be a man.
Right.
Like I can teach him what femininity is about, what a woman is. I can teach him all the things that my uncles taught me. Yeah, because I got
Right.
14 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like I can teach him all of those things, but I can't teach him to be a man, walk in that,
Right.
the presence of a man, all of that. So if we had a boy, yes, he
Hmm.
probably would have come to live with you. And some people, y'all understand that stance and y'all don't. It's whatever. That's my stance. But because she was a girl, I said at some point in time, she just needs to come live with me full time because she's just going to need that presence, especially when they turn to be teenagers.
Hmm.
So that day was very chaotic for me in the fact that I got a phone call that I was already on the edge. There's some things that happened before that I was like, this might be coming. We had that conversation before. It was like a forewarning in a way, I guess. I didn't even think of
Hmm.
it as that when we had the conversation.
Hmm.
But she came to live with me full time. Was it junior and senior year, right? through
Right.
senior year because we were applying for colleges and all that type of stuff.
Right.
And ladies, don't think that I just said, oh, she's coming to live with me. That's it. I called and I had a conversation with him about why she was going with me. It was more consistent for her. It was her junior year. We were getting her ready for college. When she went to his house, she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do with her college applications and, all that type of stuff. So the support that she needed in her junior and senior year around college preparation, around the things that I knew she wanted to do for herself in the next 2 years, she needed to be with me consistently because I was going to stay on her head. Like, and he was busy, he was doing things, it was more on her, and that's just what it was.
Hmm.
It was going to be a more consistent situation for her if she just came to live with me. But in saying that, I put myself into some chaos because I hadn't I hadn't had a chance to even plan or think through this before I made the decision, right? So I had to figure out what kind of job do I need? Where do I need to live? All this type of stuff for her to be with me full time, for us to be stable for the next 2 years, if at all possible. So I took a job outside of education, like so my schedule could be more flexible. Like I was making good money. I could live in a place that was cheaper. I stayed with that particular company for as long as I needed to, a couple of years, but then COVID happened and it shut down anyway. Like my job shut down anyway. But I was going to stay with them until she was going to college because I was going to leave anyway, right? So I started a snowball effect of chaos for myself in a way, but it was so much better for her. And we figured it out,
Hmm.
you know. But I never knew how you felt on your side of that. So I wanted to talk about that. And do
So
you have time to talk about this? Is
yes.
okay.
Yeah. So, well, certainly I remember the phone call vividly. I know exactly where I was, what highway, what turn was next. I remember the conversation. Um, and so, and you know this, where we were with our relationship and so forth, we were in a good space and so forth for quite a while. Um, and so uh, the first reaction was it was it was more about me. I didn't say anything, but certainly I was like thinking probably like most people about just not seeing my daughter. But I but in quickly in the moment I resolved the fact that this was the right thing for her, consistent with everything else we've done throughout all the years and so forth, is to focus on her and make those decisions from that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I leaned into it, counter to my emotions, counter to my emotions. I leaned into it and agreed. This is the right thing to do. If I separate my emotions, it was clear to me it was probably a little bit overdue, honestly, that she should live with you. We would, I would pivot and adjust and see her differently in this respect. But um, the reason why I could resolve it for myself and come to terms for it, somewhat in the moment, and certainly in the hours and the days that pass, is because I was also resolved with the fact that this was right. And so that's what kept my emotions in check and got me to lean in and stay supportive because I agree that that transition was right and probably a little bit overdue.
Okay. Well, I mean, I
But
never
it was
knew.
different. It was different. It was different.
It was different. I mean, and it was
Yeah.
different on both sides, right? Because
Yeah.
our daughter was driving, like she was involved in three different sports and theater and all this type of stuff. So she was constantly going,
Hmm.
constantly doing stuff. So we both had to make some adjustments because now I would solely be responsible for
Hmm.
her being able to get herself back and forth. Like she didn't have her own car yet. So I had to make adjustments on my end of, when she could use my car or if she could use my car and, am I getting another car? All this type of stuff. So for a little while I did have a second car that a friend of mine let me use because I had to work out how we were going to do this one car thing, right? I don't know if you know about that, but I did. I had to have one of my friends had like three cars and allowed me to use one of the cars for like 3 months so I could figure out how I'm going to navigate this one car situation with this teenager and all this
Yeah.
crap, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
The
I had
truth
to
of the
switch
matter,
out cars. I couldn't
yeah,
have my Infinity no more, y'all. I couldn't have my Infinity because in St. Louis, that wasn't gonna be good. 16-year-old riding around in a new Infinity. So I ended up getting a Mazda truck.
yeah,
Like there were all types of compromises that we both had to do. Like that
yeah,
we didn't necessarily know the other one was doing. But
yeah,
I mean, like you said, I say all the time is putting the child's well-being before, at the top of everything. Of course, you can't take care of your child unless you take care of yourself first. But when you're making decisions for them and you are well, then we need to make sure that our child's well-being is above everything else.
yeah. And you're
So,
gonna go. I went through a whole lot of other firsts. So that was a first. Going out and getting in somebody's car, her girlfriend's was a first, and I'm standing at the window. The first time she drove off herself.
yeah.
So you're constantly in this wave of firsts of them spreading their wings and so forth. So that was one of many dominoes to fall um, with that growth moment. So
Yeah, I mean, it was
yeah,
a lot going on. It was a lot going on in those 2 years, a lot going on, especially at the beginning of her staying with me full time, which she still came to see you when she was ready to,
yeah, yeah,
whenever she was ready, she knew that she could go. It wasn't like I was holding her hostage or saying you can't go or nothing like that. It was just consistently during the week, everyone,
right,
she was with me
right,
consistently during the weeks. Now, the weekends were hers to do whichever household she wanted to do. But during the week, she knew she was at my house.
yeah.
So,
No, that's exactly it. I mean, not to be repetitive, but certainly it was tough. But I kept that close to the vest. It's not anything that myself or Ash talked about. I kept it close to the vest, but at the same time, I was supportive. And like you said, it's all about being perfectly centered and rowing in the same direction around her. And so that's why, like I said, I was easy, somewhat easily resolved to the fact that this was the right thing to do.
yeah, that's good. Once again, emotional intelligence kicks in.
That's right. That's right.
But you guys, I know that Tan has to go. So I wanted us to talk through, a couple of those chaotic moments. Yes, you will have those in your co-parenting journey. That definitely is not the destination we want you to always have. But chaos does come, and it's all about how you're going to work through that and work through that together for the betterment of your child or your children. Okay,
Hey,
so
Jerry,
hopefully this helped. Yes,
can I close my part with giving some my advice?
absolutely. I was going to ask you.
Okay. Oh, you were. I apologize. Right. So if I was to give any advice about co-parenting, there's a lot of them, but I'll just list out three in no certain order. I would say my advice would be to recognize that the core components of co-parenting, they actually mirror good parenting. I think if you look at co-parenting, the framework, along with other information, I think you'll find an alignment with promoting good relationships of parents that share the same household and parenting of their children, that they mirror good parenting. I don't think you'll see any divergence from that. So if you really want to lock in on good co-parenting, focus on being a good parent. Um, the things that we just talked about, co-parenting or not, if I was a good parent, I would have made the same decision. Now, obviously, it's easy. We wouldn't be talking about changing different households and this sort of thing, but certainly conceptually, the alignment and keeping the child at the center and also fostering a good relationship between myself and my daughter's mom are fundamental, the same way that they would be if we were in the same household.
Mhm.
Um, Also, I would say get professional assistance and guidance, especially in the beginning. I know that that was a good starting point for me to get some professional guidance and assistance, to have a safe space to go through that early stages and so forth, um, to help me do some reflection, um, to get myself together, for lack of a better word, right? Lastly, I would say be intentional and committed to being a co-parent, the co-parent you want to be, right? So you should know what that looks like. You should have defined it, so that you can be clear about what it is that you're trying to model, is what I would say. Be intentional and be committed.
Oh, thank you for those. That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you again for being on my show. I know it is not always comfortable talking about and bringing your life experience, out to the World Wide Web. But I think this is important for people because we have a lot of people who are co-parenting that are going through it. Like they are really going through it. And I think that this type of support is very important for them. So for everybody watching the channel, I may be switching up my formatting for the new year. And this is the beginning of the new year. So I will let you know what's going to go on in the next episode in January for this. And if you have any feedback, I may send out a poll about topics for this coming year. But if you have any feedback for me, please don't hesitate to post it on the channel or in the comments for any episode that you watch. Go back and watch some of those older episodes too, since now I have a year's worth under my belts. But as always, I'm going to tell you guys to go out there and co-parent with a purpose, and I will see you the next episode. Bye.